Hello, can everyone hear me? Hi. Okay, just to do a quick sound check, before we begin and everything. Just if you can hear me, if you can see me, please just type hello in the chat so that we know who you are and who's attending today. Okay, let me just see the comments because it's a bit lag when it comes to StreamYard side. So if you can hear me, you can see me, please type hello in the chat. Let's see who's here today. All right. Okay. Hi, Vincent. Hi, Hui Ying. Hello. Thanks for joining us late at night at 8 p.m. to listen about career and tech. Hi, Ziyuan. Hello. Great. So most of you seem to be dialing in from YouTube and all. So very nice to see all of you, and really glad that the audio is clear as well. So yeah, today we're going to learn a lot of valuable things because I have a very special guest with me here today. So if you can, just please just copy the YouTube link or the Facebook link, and then share that in your various WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, or anything to invite your friends along. Because I think what our guest here today has to share will be something that is super valuable, not just for anyone who is interested in the technology industry, but also anyone who is just maybe looking for a job or looking to enhance their own career skills. So for those of you who are seeing me for the first time, my name is Jeraldine. So I care about the challenges and aspirations of our generation. And I create content around how we can all cope with the high cost of living, build rewarding careers, and lead meaningful lives. So my main channel of communication is through LinkedIn and through my blog. But of course, I also have other channels which some of you might be familiar with, like my Instagram and Facebook, which I use to kind of engage the various audiences. And primarily, I actually talk to millennials and handle questions around finances, careers, personal growth, and all that. So just to introduce my guest who's next to me, this is Traven Ting. So Traven is actually a technology recruiter who has headhunted for big tech MNCs, like ByteDance, Google, and Alibaba, right? These are the dream companies of many of these youngsters, right, who want to break into tech. So Traven, do you have some introduction about yourself? Maybe you can share a little bit about yourself to the audience here.
Sure. Thanks, Jerry, for the invitation, and nice to meet all of you here. So, I have around 7+ years of experience in the recruitment. I started off from the recruitment agencies with clients like Alibaba, etc. And subsequently, I actually took on a contract role actually to join Google. That's how I actually began my tech career. And so right now also another a tech company as well as a full-time recruiter here. And I just want to share that recruiter is really focus on recruiting talents for the company. But what I love doing outside of work is also helping individuals like yourself or my friends, my peers, to discuss and chat more about topics on career matters, because that's what a career coach does, right? Really to understand from individual perspective rather than just from the company standpoint. So that's why I do outside of work, and love the chance to be here to be sharing some insights. And I just want to do a huge disclaimer that whatever I'm sharing is not representing the company that I'm working for or the past companies, but really I'm a recruiter, but I'm also an employee myself. So that's why you and me are actually similar, just that we have different experience, and I'm here to do some sharing and also have some discussion with you guys. All right.
Yeah, just to lay it out here in front of everyone, both Traven and I are both speaking in our personal capacity as Jeraldine here and also as Traven Ting. So
Yes,
we're not
correct.
any organization that we are part of, and we are not certified experts, right? So we're not really sharing professional advice. What we're sharing is basically our own personal experiences, what we see on the ground, and our own sharing also. So just to lay it out here before we all begin this session. So, hey, Trevor, actually, maybe we could share them, right? How we actually got to know each other, and when's the last time we met up?
It's quite a super long time, right? I think I got to know you through a mutual friend who is also in a tech company, right? So I think that's how the small world of a tech company is. And I think we last met, when was it? Is it just last month or so? And we just catch up over a coffee, etc. Right? So I think it's always good to catch up with people face to face and to understand the challenges, behind the scenes, etc. So that to me is very interesting and insightful to learn from each other. I recently catch up with Nat also, so that's how we actually stay in touch and exchange insights on our industry, etc.
Yeah, this really awesome. Yeah, so just to summarize, right? Actually, Trevor and me got to know each other through a mutual friend called Nat. I think I remember it was during circuit breaker. So circuit breaker, I was very isolated.
Yeah.
Talk to someone, right? Or anyone, I make new friends or anything. So Nat was like, okay, how about you talk to this guy called Trevor? He's very passionate, very willing to share. Has a lot of insights, and he really wants to help other people and all that. So that's when we had our first call, I think, through Zoom. Yeah, and then we kind of maintained this friendship throughout. And of course, we don't just talk about tech. So sometimes we talk about other things because we both of us love reading books. We like to talk
And
about psychology,
matters, etc.
relationship, deeper topics and all that. Yeah, so there's a bit of background about me and Traven also. So okay, with that, right, let's begin with the first question. But before we go into that, can all of you who are watching this video, right, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on like YouTube, please help us just press like the like button, because we really want this to like be pushed up the algorithm, so more and more people will be able to kind of like view it. So if you can help us press the like button or something like that, that would be super useful and really help us to reach more and more people. Okay.
And how about at the same time, if they have the time, well, people are doing the sharing, right? How about if you have time, you can also leave some comment to share with us what's the background, because we are not sure, who is watching, right? You can tell us briefly, you have how many years experience in what industry, and also maybe some questions that you are keen to find out, or for us to share more. I think that would be helpful, all right? So, yeah, please keep the comments coming. Love to see that.
Yeah, definitely. Please let us know in the comments, right? Like, who you are, maybe what are the kind of like, where are you, what's the industry you're from and all those, don't be shy. Please share with us, because if you share with us, then we can know like, where you're coming from, right? If not, me and Trevor just like talking to each other kind of thing, and we may not know like whether what we're sharing is like super useful to you. So if you let us know in the comments, maybe how many years of experience you have, or maybe which industry you're from, then that would be very helpful. Just to introduce Trevor and myself, both of us have been working for 7 years, right, Trevor? 7 年了.
Around 7 years, yeah, correct.
Because we graduated at the same time. Both of us graduated in 2014. So that's how we actually got to the where we are today. And both of us are in tech, of course. That's why we're having this session. So
Actually, I didn't really start off in tech, to be honest, right? So,
okay.
I didn't really start off in tech. Just to share, like I even graduated from a non-relevant degree. So I graduated from NUS PFM Project and Facilities Management, which is actually for the School of Design and Built Environment, which is like totally different. It's non-HR, it's non-tech related. So my first job was actually a recruitment consultant with an agency, and my clients or my focus area is actually financial institutions. For audit and compliance and risk related roles. So it's actually non-tech. But I mean, let's just get it started in terms of how we got into tech. I think I will start sharing first, and Jeraldine, later you can do your turn. Yeah. So
Sure. What's the story? How you get into tech, how you go into recruitment also. Yeah.
So yes, I didn't graduate in HR related or tech related, and my first job was to recruit talents for my clients, like in the banking sector, from Stanchart Bank of China, etc. But then through a chance, I actually got to have this client called N Financial, which is we all know who they are right now. And of course, with N Financial, I helped them with the compliance position. And subsequently, when I done the job, they find it's great, and they give me more opportunities such as like tech related roles. And that's how I slowly expand into covering their other functions, other departments within the so-called Alibaba Group family. So yes, that's how I got into the tech exposure. And interestingly, an ex-colleague of mine actually happened to join Google first. I was like, wow, with the same company back then, right? You can actually join Google, and it was actually through contract. I thought, why not? And if it's 1 year, I'm more than happy. Whatever, I just want to go into Google. I didn't even know there's this chance. So that's why for my journey into tech, it's really not a planned thing, to be honest. But the good thing is that I think I'm glad I was quite open in terms of like even taking a move into like a contract role, and that gave me really a lot more into exposure into like working in a big tech company like Google. So with the 1 year contract, I got extended for a further another year, but actually left to join ByteDance on a full time back then. So that's how I really got into the tech role. Not exactly by plan, but I think the whole lesson here is actually be open, because things changes so quickly, right? Like just like now we are so into the metaverse, the crypto, all these things. It didn't really so happen like in this like popular in the recent years, right? So but we have to be open to opportunities in terms of all these evolving areas. So I think that's what a good lesson here. How about Geraldine? How do you get into tech then?
Yeah, before that, right, since you spoke about like, the emerging industries and everything, I just wanted to say like thank you COVID, because in a sense, because COVID, suddenly everyone know what is software as a service. If not, like in the past when I go for Chinese New Year like gatherings and stuff like that, people will be like, oh, what do you do? Then I say like, oh, software as a service. Then nobody care about me because they don't know what is software as a service. But these days, like when I say that, right, and stuff, then people feel like, oh, okay, there's a level of degree of like respect and of course interest in the field. And I think Trevor, you probably experienced the same thing as well. So that's at least one of the bright spots that I've seen because of this whole pandemic and whole digital transformation. So just to introduce myself and like how I landed into the technology industry. So for those of you who have been following me for some time, you would know that I actually graduated with a journalism degree. So it's like absolutely nothing related to tech and all that. But of course, I do have a little bit of like tech background. Like my dad is in the tech industry. And then also from young, I played around with code, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all that, and kind of like got interested in these fields. So companies like HP, Cisco, and all that, they were not new to me. I kind of like already knew them through interaction with my father and all that. So for me, when I was deciding, my journey is a bit different from Traven because it's a little bit more deliberate. When I started working, I was thinking like, okay, what is a job to me, right? What's the meaning of a job to me? And to me, I see a corporate job as a revenue generating engine in my life. So that's how I actually view like how a career fits into my entire life, basically. And it could be different for everyone. Some people see a job, right, as a source of passion, as a platform for them to make new friends, as a platform for learning. But to me, of course, while I do have many wonderful friends at work, and I do like feel interested in my role, to me ultimately a job is really for revenue. So based on my social science background, so I studied journalism, and I did like a lot of social science kind of like courses when I was in school and all that. I learned something, which is that as workers we don't really have much bargaining power, right? So how do I ensure that in my life I can still have autonomy and control, and to have a little bit more power? That is to enter a field where demand for labor exceeds the supply. And because when that's the case, typically companies will offer better benefits, better pay, better treatment of employees, and all that. So that's where I wanted to go. And just at that time, tech was really like starting to grow and all that. That was 2014, and also I really tried to enter the industry. I was trying interviewing for different firms, right? I interviewed for logistics startups like Lalamove, Google Van, Uber, Grab, yeah, you name it. Like a lot of tech companies, I really tried my best to get in, and eventually I ended up at a Series C data analytics software company, and that really kicked off my journey in the software as a service space. So that's one. Second reason why I moved into tech was also because the need to have a future-proof career. So some of you are probably aware that I do volunteer work and house visits and all during my spare time. And what I've encountered is a lot of residents in their 40s and 50s who have been sadly displaced, right, as a result of maybe offshoring, or maybe their skills are no longer relevant anymore and all that. So that's why I felt very worried, right, because I'm just imagining myself. I'm a very family oriented person, so I'm just imagining myself as when I'm 40. Let's say I got two children, I have a husband or something like that, and then like how am I going to survive, right, if let's say I suddenly get retrenched and all. So I really wanted to protect myself against that kind of situation, because I really don't want to be in a kind of situation whereby I have elderly parents, younger children to take care of, and just like being in a very stressed out state. So future proof is something that's very, very critical to me. And I guess for why sales specifically, it's really because when I was in school, I came across this chart that shows that the CEO salary actually exceeded that of the ordinary workers a lot. So like the graph is like growing this way, right? Like CEO salary like this, and then ordinary worker salaries like this. So that really links to my social science knowledge on how like it's important to own the means of production and capital. So besides investing, I think that sales is another way for me to really be part of this, where I'll be able to get a little bit more than what has been like allocated to me through the form of like commissions and stuff like that. So that's how I actually eventually ended up choosing sales as a career. So I hope that it's not too lengthy as a response. I've been spending the past few minutes talking, right? So just wanted to, if you have any feedback or questions, please leave them in the comments, because Trevor and I are going to be like addressing them, right? So
I just want to take the chance to also appreciate what Geraldine has shared, because if you all realize, Geraldine doesn't just share her job, she really share her career. So that's one fundamental thing that we should be mindful of, is actually the difference between a job versus a career, because a lot of people, they want to go into a tech job or job in a tech. That to me is short-term planning. But if you are looking for long-term, you really need to think on what is your career looks like, what do you really want, what do you really need in the long term. Like for myself, though, I had a move, which wasn't really a plan, but my long-term goal is really to be an investor, to be, but But to be an investor, I need to not just have the money, which I need to have a job, right? But also I need to have the understanding of the industry knowledge, and which industry can actually give me the greatest return is really the growth company, growth industry. And of course, that happens to be in tech, or tech is one of those kind obvious reasons, right? So that's why I find the beauty of myself being in a tech company, tech industry. At the same time, I do well in my job, not just for my salary, but also it helps me to be a better investor. So that's how I see myself as a career, not just an employee in a tech company. So yeah, so this is, I think, that's very important. And I can see from the responses, I think quite a lot of people are curious about how you can get into tech for those with non-tech background, right? I think at least 2-3 questions here. Yeah, if there's no other questions, I can kickstart with this one.
Yeah, exactly. I think Traven, the audience seems to be able to read our minds, right? So I was just about to ask you, right? Because you are the kind of like the gatekeeper as a recruiter. You're the first person like everyone talk to, right? So maybe you can answer 2 questions. First of all, it's actually what's the process like, right? When you every morning you open a laptop, like is it like a lot of emails and stuff like that? They have to answer like all these different like candidates and all those. That's
Yes,
one.
yes.
Secondly, it's like how do you view resumes that do not have tech background? So these are two questions. One is like what is the
Okay, okay,
process like? Secondly, is like how do you treat people who don't actually have the technology
okay.
background? What do you look out
And
for?
I wish to add on with a third question for myself,
Okay,
because
okay.
it's not fair to just answer based on these 2 questions, because the answer will not be the most ideal or the most lovely answer. But the third question is really coming from, like, as a career coach myself, then, right? How would I advise, or how would I share with people with no tech background but they wish to progress into tech? How can one do so, right? Because the answer for first one or two, which is quite similar, is that as a recruiter myself with a tech company, the answer is obvious. You just need to imagine yourself being the recruiter, even if you're not, for example, Geraldine yourself. You are with a tech, and if you're hiring for someone as a colleague for you, and you need someone with experience, right, so that they can actually do the job immediately when they join, or right after, rather than you need to teach them everything. So let's say you want to hire for your one colleague of yours, and would you prefer someone from tech background, like at least some exposure into SaaS, for example, right? You want
Mm,
that, right? If you're the hiring manager. Likewise, for most hiring manager, even for myself, right, we would definitely naturally prefer someone with the direct background, and that is always obvious. Meaning, let's say when I open my laptop, when I open the applications, like when I need to find someone with experience, of course, those with experience will stand out and will be the top of my list that I will reach out to and call them first, for example, right? But those without the experience, unfortunately, reject right away. Sometimes people say people like recruiter take 7 seconds, but unfortunately, without much experience, if you don't fit the requirement, then there's no point we will actually reject even in 2 second time, right? So that's
mm,
kind of like a sad truth, because organization companies are still looking for find talent to help them to do the work, to do the job, to help the company grow, but not exactly really a place for you to learn, because it's not exactly like a school. But of course, there are ways for you to actually progress towards that. Just like another example is that, interestingly, even when tech companies are looking for hire like fresh graduates, right? You will be surprised that internally, actually, they will still prefer someone with experience. Now you might be asking, wow, you are looking for fresh grad, yet you want people with direct experience, right? How do you think is that possible? Jadine, what do you think?
wow, it's like yeah, I see that a lot, especially even during my time when I graduate, right? Like
Yeah.
even fresh grad role, they want like 2 years experience kind of thing. And I'm like, huh? Like I just come out of school, like and all that is like kind of like I think this is something like a lot of us experience. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a common question. People just stop at that level and thinking that, well, it's not fair because you want to hire someone with like fresh grad, which shouldn't have experience, but yet you prefer someone with better experience. But the reality is, especially in the current market, I'm quite surprised and shocked to see that many of my past interns I have seen, maybe I don't know if any of them is also watching this, just in case. But anyway, they are awesome. They have done like 3-4 internships in their like 3-4 years of degree.
Mm,
Wow, that to me is amazing. Which means that throughout their 3-4 internship in that bachelor program, they have a total of maybe 1 to 2 years of experience.
mm,
So people actually took their actions to make them stand out from the rest. Likewise, but of course, many of you may not be fresh grade anymore, just in case, right? Like you have a lot of experience, but you just don't have the tech. Likewise, the only way to stand out is to have experience. So, but how exactly? For example, I don't have the experience back then. How did I get experience? So I wasn't in a tech company. I was with just a recruitment agency. But the only way for me, not the only way, but the way I actually use is that I have my tech company as my client. I can't join
mm.
them yet. I wasn't qualified to join it. They wouldn't want me just yet. But I actually joined a company whereby tech companies is the client, and I can actually work from there. I actually gain experience from there. Right. So that's one. Then there's also another examples that I heard from my other friends that the person could be in, say, for example, hospitality industry, right? Like just irrelevant, but the person could be actually working with tech clients. So that is also the exposure you can get. Not only you will get the experience in terms of understanding how tech company works, but also you get a network. All this is actually very important. And if you have tried all these things and it still doesn't work, there's still more things you can try. For example, do part-time project, right? It could be on your own, or take part-time courses. Like
Yeah,
even for
on
my
this, right, Traven, just to,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, but I guess
sorry.
that there's a very relevant question that is just aligned with whatever you just said. So
Uh,
it's about part-time courses. So let's flash it out on the screen. So Kari
mm,
is asking, right, there's a lot of tech bootcamp, right? Rocket Academy, GA. Are these like actually useful in helping one transit into to tech? Maybe you can answer that from some of the roles that you are hiring. I think that it will be very, very
mm, mm.
helpful to the audience here because there's so many advertisements for all these courses, but how effective are they?
I wouldn't just say from my nature of like job per se, because that is maybe sensitive or not exactly relevant. But I can say at least from my friends, my circle of friends, I have really seen them actually successful in terms of making this transition. Because I have actually my a batchmate back then who is also from the PFM, but successfully also took up courses like this and become a professional UI UX designer and doing very well. And salary also pretty good. If my friend is watching, yeah. But yeah, so I have seen many successful cases, and in fact, years ago when I was still doing my own workshop like career by design, this is also the thing, the key essence that I'm actually sharing with my participants, that they should do up some project, some courses, whichever matter they should keep trying to gain experience or gain some network and slowly progress into. Because from non-tech to tech, to me, it's like there is actually a gradient, but if you can't jump right away, then you have to take steps. And if there's a need for you to even switch of lane, etc. Just like for example, I like to use one analogy. Like for example, if you are driving, right, you want to actually drive at a very fast lane, but maybe the only way you want to switch your lane, the only way is to actually perhaps slow down first, right? Then you switch a gear, then you actually turn into the right lane. So just like for example, I have seen people here with like 7 years of experience, for example, looking to change career. Uh, you really need to, for example, I think what are the opportunities you can get other than your current industry, and what kind of exposure. Even if, for example, you are in design, for example, can you design for tech? Can tech companies be your clients? Can you do even free for them? Or can you do at your own time like a showcase your portfolio, like how your this design? Because design is a skill. I know you are in design industry, but depending on your function skill, that design skill can actually be relevant in the tech company, because tech is having so many exposure. Just like back then, previously, I've seen candidates from banking sector, they want to transit into tech. It seems hard back then, but nowadays you will see tech into doing fintech, tech finance, etc. Right? So it can still be applicable for this transit. So you need to break down what are the steps needed. Sometimes it's really not easy to make a direct jump. Just like, for example, back then, I have no background. It's very hard for me to have the direct full time with a top tech company. But I had to join an agency with that tech client. Then, even from a perm role, take a contract role to then get myself more exposure. And from there, actually jump further with a perm role in a tech. And that's how it is. So there might be
Yeah.
steps needed.
Trevor, I think what you share is very useful. For example, let's say someone is in marketing, right, and they want to,
Mm,
they're doing marketing for FMCG, and they want to
yes,
move into
correct.
like, working for tech. They can join
Correct.
they can get a tech client, like maybe Microsoft
For
or something
example,
like that.
For example,
Yeah,
the FMCG, right? Like maybe e-commerce companies may love them because they have the industry direct experience, and
yeah,
e-commerce they will still need marketing manager, right? With maybe some and another secret I want to share here. I don't know how's the audience here, but I just want to share more specifically how you can actually navigate on this change. Please like go to LinkedIn and find people who have been there, done that. All right, there must be someone. You shouldn't be the first person. It's not so likely you are the first person to make the change. There must be someone who have been there, done that already. Just need to kind of like not exactly follow their steps, but get some inspiration from how they actually did it. So I think that can be one good example.
yeah. This is like super relevant. I think I used to do that when I was younger. So I would like to stalk people LinkedIn profile. It's
Yeah,
like
correct.
my hobby. I always go to people LinkedIn profile, then I see like, okay, what are the steps they take, where they join, and then they give me a lot of useful insights, right? Like how do they move, right? And then what kind of companies is good for
And
someone in my sector? How do they increase their like value, right? And all that. This is actually very relevant and
just
useful.
just to go deeper into what I shared earlier and also the question earlier, but let's go deeper a bit. Like the question asked by Kara about the courses, boot camps, etc. Right? Rocket Academy. How relevant, how useful is that, right? Now, Kara, I would also like to ask you, what do you think, right? And how do we find out? Even if I'm not having the direct answer here, but I just want to share a thinking that how can you find out? The tool is actually LinkedIn, right? So the approach is that when you go to LinkedIn, there will be people who completed these courses and they would love to actually put on LinkedIn that they have completed such courses. And how about you actually go and search by who have actually taken such courses and where they are right now. As long as you are not the first batch, right, it's quite easy for you to see like maybe those who attended such courses, for example, like Rocket Academy, GA, and where they are right now, which company actually love them, right? Because there are companies who can't fight with the big tech, right? So they would actually prefer or they will want someone with no experience, but at least they have taken short courses before, right?
Correct.
Uh,
And just to add on this, I actually have a live example of a friend who took a course at GA, but I think he'll be very, very paiseh if I share his account. So let me just like read out like what's on it for him. So basically his degree was, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and all that. But subsequently, when he graduated in 2015, he was doing other stuff, right? Like maybe recruitment and stuff like that. But in 2017, he took like a GA course. And for this course, he's learned quite a few skills like Ruby, JavaScript, SQL, HTML, CSS, frameworks like Rails, Node.js, Express, jQuery, stuff like that. All the different technical skills and all, Heroku, GitHub, and other kind of like skills. So what happened is that he actually got a job at a local company, and he joined in the marketing team. But eventually, because of his background and skill set, he managed to move up, and today he's actually the CTO, right, of
wow.
the organization. Yeah, yeah. So that's really one of the success stories. I mean, I have never attended like a proper GA course, but this is at least one of the examples that I know. Yeah.
And Kara just commented further information that starting salary it would be low, for sure. And that's the reason why I shared the analogy earlier that sometimes you are, let's say if you have been getting say 5 to 6K salary, for example, for years, and you are in that old traditional industry, but if you were to make a change and people give you a chance, and that's why maybe you need to take a pay cut. And for me, that is like really switching a gear to a lower gear. And if you really have the confidence in yourself and you can easily actually up your level in this tech industry pretty easily, so it's just that you want a chance that people give you. So you can try to actually interview a few, if just get the best from your options from the but never to be too, how do I say? I do see, by the way, I do see people who is too stubborn, like not making wanting to change. Like let's say I've been getting say 6K, for example, right? Then I just don't want to make a move anything lower. I just don't want to consider, and but you want to make a switch, but people don't. If you don't allow people to give you a chance with slightly lower pay, then it's very even harder to make a move. But if you were to allow yourself to even take a step back, but that may actually be the chance to propel you further. So that's the analogy of like switching the gear, slow down a bit before you actually go fast again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very relevant for mid-career switches, right? Especially like the point on like slowing down again and all. So that really links nicely into Vincent's questions here, right? So Vincent actually asking about mid-career professional switches, like how do they actually compete with fresh graduates, right? They're taking some maybe SG United courses and all that to reskill and all. How do they actually compete with fresh grads? Maybe I can take this question first. So I used to be from Salesforce, and Salesforce actually has this like course for mid-career professionals to learn how to be Salesforce administrators, Salesforce developers, and all. I think it's in collaboration with NTU, and I thought it was a fantastic initiative to upskill and lift up the workers that we have here. So typically, when these people graduate from these programs, they will be able to join partner firms and the age that they have over fresh graduates is that they have the industry experience. So let's say, for example, I came from retail industry, for example, and then I take like a Salesforce developer cert, right, or something like that, or administration cert. I'll be able to have more expertise and industry experience when I implement a CRM solution for a customer, because I know exactly what the customer is looking for and how the CRM should be designed accordingly to their processes, their needs, and I understand the industry jargon. So that's really my input on that perspective on how mid-career professionals can reskill and then after that compete with the fresh graduates who are supposedly maybe cheaper or younger or something like that. Trevor, what is your view? Because you've been in the start of the recruitment, right? Could you just share like your perspectives and all?
You mean in short, it's about the compete with like fresh grad? Is it a question by Vincent?
Like how mid-career professionals, example, like I'm maybe 35, then I switch to like tech and all that. How do I compete with someone who's a fresh grad?
Mm, I think it's also less of a compete because you must know your market. right? So I would say they are actually companies who you must think on a company's level that, from a recruitment, or not from a recruitment, but from a company standpoint, they are actually companies out there, may not be the big tech, but they want to venture into tech, they want to have doing some tech, but they can't compete with the talents from big tech, meaning they also need to lower their bar. They can't get the people with like, very top talent, but they don't mind people with like yourself, maybe in, let's say, if you are already mid 30 and you want to make a switch and you have some courses, you reskill, right? So to them, it's also why not, right? And from there, it's a win-win situation. Just like you can't compete with the young, fresh grad talent, the best talent, so called. Likewise, there are companies who can't compete, fight for the best talent. That's when, supply demand, and then you will come to a mutual point, and from there you get experience and you progress further. So this is how I see it, and never just wait for a perfect solution, perfect job there, but always do something that's better than where you are. Map progression is always better than perfection.
Yeah, correct. That's really, really awesome, guys. If you're enjoying like what Traven is saying and what we're sharing so far, can you please just help us to press like and share, right, on this YouTube video, because that will really, really help us to reach more people, to help them to understand, like, what is it
And
like
keep
to
the
work.
questions coming. I think that those
Yeah,
are really fantastic questions.
correct. Somehow you guys managed to predict, like, the kind of questions we're going to ask. So that's been very, very useful. So, okay, now let's moving on, because we've been talking a lot about, like, early people want to enter the tech industry and all that. But I guess, like, I just wanted to understand from you, right, Trevor, because you've been in various tech companies and so have I. Maybe can you walk us through the differences, based on like your experiences, right, working, say, in Google versus maybe ByteDance, right? Because these are two very different companies. One is from the east, one is from the west, and perhaps maybe have very different cultures. If you can just share with us some tidbits on that, I think it'd be very useful for anyone who's
Mm.
thinking, about like the kind of organizations
Sure,
that they
sure,
they want to
sure.
join. Yeah.
Sure. Indeed, it's a big difference. It's not just a small difference, because as a matter of fact, we should step back and see, these two are just like two different stage, right? For example, Google is easily 20-ish years old, like adult. But ByteDance is only 9 years old. If I'm wrong, it's this year, it should be 10 years old. It's one is adult, 20-ish years old of experience. One is actually a young, not even an adult, like a kid, 10 years old, with high
That's
potential, high
like
growth.
primary three, yeah. Primary
Yeah,
three
correct,
kid.
correct, correct, correct. Which means you like 1 year you never see them, right? The growth is already wow, 长这样高了, right? The growth very
Yeah.
tall. In a short period of time. But Google is very mature. So my experience there is actually, when I joined there, it's already, the company size is like thousands, and they are still in the thousands workforce in Singapore. So it's very mature. So the team I was in is actually in the team of like 100 plus people. So I was one of the 100. Like, so you'll be joining like a big team. You're part of the big machine. Whereas for smaller company, like back then when I joined, it was still quite small. But of course, in the past year, like they have grown so much, they are also quite big right now. So the difference is that you need to know what they are working on or what stage they are in as a company, and then you can expect yourself to be in like what kind of like growth you are. So for example, like ByteDance is actually in high growth, so you need to be prepared in terms of like putting that much of efforts to justify yourself to also grow with the company. So I think that mental mindset is also quite important. Otherwise, you can't join in and then complain, right? Like, wow, so fast paced, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's one. But another method is actually to speak with the people. And also because all these companies, right, is so famous, so popular, right? You can easily find a lot of reviews from the internet. So that's what I would advise people to do more research, and they can easily find more information about how is the working experience like, and also to check how is the turnover like, because that is something that you can do research before you join, because the turnover could be high for certain company, right? So you don't want to join because it's like a good brand name, but then inside may not be the case, because there are certain companies that they have great products but may not be the best company to join. I'm not saying any company, but I'm just saying that a due diligence has to be done on our end, and to see what you want, because there is also so-called pros to join a fast growth company, because you would have the chance to build things, you would get a chance to grow with the company, and it's part of you are contributing to the growth of the company, and that's very significant and helpful compared to, say, Google. No matter what, unless they are setting up a new division, new department, new product, new team, which is rare or very less chance compared to, say, companies like ByteDance, whereby they have many teams new, and you are could be the first few to join like a year ago, and that experience is actually not just technical skill, but really the skill of like being independent, being able to work in the uncertain environment, ambiguity situation. So that is the soft skill that we will actually look for.
Correct. So the ability to work in a very
And
fast-paced
also,
environment.
also like startup, right? Startup also, it's not just about startup being small, but startup being small meaning that they would have opportunity for you to actually build things from scratch as well. You would get a chance to have more exposure, and so those are the skills, or those are the environment that will give you different experiences, and these experiences will be helpful for the future employer to decide whether you might be good or not for them, right?
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Things like the differences between working in like companies in a different growth stages. Just
And
to share my
I must say also like that's
sorry.
really like never. I mean, years ago, I really think like one company is like the dream company to work for. Of course, for some reasons, but just that no matter what, there's just no perfect place to work for, to perfect job. But it's really at what stage you are actually alive, what stage of your life you are in, and what do you need. Because I even had a chat with my friend recently, or ex-colleague of mine. So yeah, the person has got multiple options, and all these are fantastic. But the point is we are not finding which is best in the market, best in the inside. It's really on personal level. Like let's say, for example, if you are having family or not, if you need like let's say paternity leave, right? For example, I heard Salesforce has very great benefits, yeah. Like
Yes,
few
yes.
months, it's okay to
6
say,
months
right?
or 6 months.
Can say, right? I think it's so fantastic. But you see, that company is matured. I think they have a long presence in Singapore, right? But if I were to join them, I think my contribution wouldn't as impactful as if I were to join a startup, right?
Hmm.
And if I were to join Salesforce for the reason they have such a great benefits of like 6 months paternity leave, which I didn't get a chance to use yet, right? Then it will be actually a waste. So for me, I rather find my stage of like still being like single with no dependence of the wife or kids to take care of. So it's actually much easier for me to be in a fast-paced environment and actually contribute a lot into sort of growth and build up. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess like to just summarize what Trevor's saying so far, there's different kind of tech companies. There's like those who are what we call big tech, the likes of Adobe, SAP, Google, and all that, established for a long time already, and doing really well, of course. And then there's of course there's all these like growth companies like pre-IPO, right? Series A, Series B, Series C, kind of like organizations, and there's really a difference between like these two organizations also. So just talking about my own experience as well, many of you know that I used to be from Salesforce, and in fact I'm a big fan of Salesforce, okay, and I love Salesforce. That I have a Salesforce jacket, laptop, shirt, and
Yes,
I
yes,
sleep
yes.
with my Salesforce t-shirt, and stuff like that.
It's one
So
of my dream company to work for as well, and I will be looking forward to join, especially when I plan to move on to my next stage of life as well.
yeah, correct. So it's really a wonderful place, and I have nothing but really great things to say about this organization. But many people ask me like, why do you leave, right, and join like this startup and all that? And for me, it's really not much of a pull factor because the market is really hot right now for, especially for local talents. Because before COVID-19, many of the organizations could kind of like hire a foreigner or something like that. But right now, it seems a little bit harder. So if you're a PR or Singaporean, your value in the as an employee kind of like goes up, right? So you can get a pretty good jump if you were to move. So that is really one of the reasons which motivated me. And of course, although the workload is a lot higher, the upside is a lot higher as well, because typically many of these high growth startups, they give you what we call stock options, right? So when they do IPO, that could be a potentially rewarding kind of like situation to be in, right? To be able to hold some of these stock options as well. So that's another factor and difference that I see working for a high growth startup and of course working for an established tech company. There's no like better or worse, right? Again, like I think what Vincent says here, there's no perfect job. It just depends on like your stage in life. So for me and Trevor, we both don't have kids. So yeah, we're just very happy to be in a little bit more fast paced kind of environment also. Yeah, Trevor, do you have anything else to add based on this topic?
I think in terms of no perfect job, no perfect play, just like for example, I have successfully poached or gotten talent out from dream company like Google as well. There will be people who want to move on, and sometimes it's not because they are not happy with the company. People love challenges as well. Sometimes you join them for good, you have to help them to build a team, and there'll just be time you want to move on for better challenges. And challenges only comes when the company actually not at a best shape, right? For example, building up, and that's when they need you the most, and that's when you can contribute the most. So to me, this is how I see career planning should be, especially in the tech, and tech companies usually move very, very fast. So you will get a lot through all the changes as well. Yeah. Any other specific questions that I can try to share more?
Yeah, I think talking about this jump, right, Traven, I think changing a job is a very risky thing. Like for me, when I was changing job this year, right, I was like so scared. I try to analyze all the factors, the reasons.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
talk
yeah.
to the master, I go temple and pray, that kind of like
Well,
fear,
okay.
fear of making
For me,
a move.
you can share first.
Yeah. So I just wanted to understand from you because you have made some moves, right? Actually, what do you
A
look
lot.
out for? What are the factors and how do you do like your due diligence? Yeah.
Okay, I think I have done a lot of move, which is actually not ideal and not recommended to anyone, but it's all happened by chance. For me, I grabbed the best opportunity, but also not exactly best for self, but really best for career planning. And say for example, I left the previous company for the reason or really for culture, not exactly a fit, and I want better work life, but sometimes not all companies can give you that. So you need to take a balance. You need to take control. Don't just because you want to stay on the company just to make your resume looks good. To me, that is not helpful. You're just killing yourself. But of course, you need to do a balance as well. If you have been jumping too much, then it's also really, really harder to move on. So I'm quite lucky to have been referred by my current colleague, which is also ex-colleague from Google. So otherwise, people would just look at my CV and would not consider this candidate. I think luck plays a lot of role, but we have to do things that increase our chances of being more lucky. So that is how I would put it. And during interview, I mean, it's one thing when you're choosing your career path, but then during interview, that will be another challenge. Let's say for people like myself who have jumped so frequently, of course, I didn't wish or I didn't really plan for this kind of frequent move, but still, um, they will actually value. In fact, I have my strength out from this because compared to someone, let's say 6 years or 7 years in just two companies or one company, I have plenty. But the plenty of different companies, Western, Chinese, etc., and local company I've all worked before give me the exposure. So, and I actually use it to my advantage. And for every move, I have to prove myself in terms of achievement. So I'm constantly like running a marathon at the 100-meter kind of a speed. And I have learned, the different system, the different processes to constantly prove myself. But that gives my brain very active and actually constantly been thinking, because when you are in a company for 3, 4 years, 5 years, right? Quite likely that you can easily be very complacent and comfortable, right? Because people know you, you know your work, and you know what to expect for the next few months. But for me, for my previous years, right, I had to constantly like prove myself and always fight for achievements to showcase myself. So that forces me to gain more muscle or like along the way in my career journey. Yeah. So define how much is jumping too much. I think on general in tech company, I would say 2 years it's the minimum. Like you should stay for at least 2, 3 years, because you should have like 2 years to see something really fruitful. But in the general, like not non-tech company, I think too much is actually 4, 5. No, 4, 5 years is very acceptable, but 2, 3 years is considered. Yeah, but in tech, because people naturally jump a lot, because also there are plenty of headhunters around. There are plenty of tech companies are fighting for talents. So a lot of people actually got poached by recruiters, in-house or external, and that's why naturally in the Singapore market, especially, you will see more talents. Very rare to see people stay for 3, 4 years. But also, when you know this, right, you could also use this as your advantage, because people have been jumping so often, right? But if you could stay in a company for 3, 4 years, that can be actually make you outstanding in terms of the tech talents. So, but in tech, try not to never stay, never leave in 2 years time. So that's why in my plan, I would plan to have at least 1 or 2 promotion, and stay for at least like a 2, 3 years before I have my next move also. Because I think I
Yeah.
left the previous really for the culture and reason, and sometimes no choice, you really need to move in. If not, actually, that you will suffer by yourself lah. So you need to, based on your situation, and actually make a good move for yourself.
Trevin, it's really interesting. You mentioned twice, right, that you left your previous organization for cultural reasons.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
I won't mention any names, but actually, how do you screen an organization? On retrospect, right, any red flags that you could have
Mental health,
spotted?
mental health. You ask yourself, do you sleep well, and do you feel like, wow, is your boss asking too much, etc. Right? So, and that company is, it's a great company, and I wouldn't say bad things, but it's personal preference. I don't prefer to work in such environment, so I had to make the move. Just like for example, one video I get resonated a lot is a video posted by Chloe. If those of you who know would know, and you just do a Google search, video by Chloe, you will know kind of like the things. Yeah, so I try not to go deeper, but it's okay to leave if you actually, despite you plan to stay for long, but for personal sake, right? Protect your own mental health also. Don't suffer, for no good reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess tech could be sometimes certain tech companies could be really stressful and all that. But Traven, I think
To
what
me,
I'm
it's
trying
two
to understand is
different things. The stressful part, I think I can take, but it's whether your manager management is appreciative of you or not. So that to me is
yeah,
a key factor, lah. So I think stressful it is one. In fact, it's a good skill to have because you need to actually do a lot of things in short period of time, and I think that is the stressful part. But as long as you're doing meaningful thing, the stressful part is actually can be the outcome can be beautiful. So I think that's how I see being like in a stressful, fast-paced environment, which is actually good for growth because you wouldn't really grow in a too comfortable environment, right? So yeah.
so I guess okay, what I'm trying to ask is that basically, how do you, or retrospect, right? Like if you look back, right, were there any warning signs that you actually shouldn't join this company?
No, no, no. I by the way, I never regret. I never regret.
No,
For all my past
okay.
experience, I will never regret because, in fact, I'm so glad I had the experience so that I really appreciate anything else much more, including my life and my personal time, etc.
very,
So,
very
really,
loved one.
it's really, and in fact, before that job, right, my first job was also quite a bad one. In a way,
Mm,
that's a local company, and it's you have to do morning exercises, so like as a team, so it's the culture a bit very local lah. So anyway, yeah, I don't prefer that. But I wouldn't regret as well because that like I have to work on a weekend despite it's not exactly on a contract, despite it's not exactly necessary. I couldn't take leave, though I have annual leave left, right? But I couldn't take it. I have to. The manager will just give us to forward, like bring forward to next year until forever. So yeah, but I learned a lot in terms of like that kind of a tough environment, and I think yeah, so it's never regret. But the point is, there's no perfect place anyway. But the point is what do you want to from each job and each experience, and how can you actually make good use of that. For example, when I had gone through bad culture, bad experience, right, then the more I appreciate my current team, the more
mm,
when I become a leader, when I become manager, I want to make sure that I would be the good manager, that to be more listener, to be really think of the balance, like work-life balance for my colleagues and also team members and my interns, for example. So I think that really made me wonder like what is truly important in terms of career. And today, just today, I actually come across a picture. I share on my Instagram as well. For those who want, you can take a look at my Instagram. So the picture actually says that how people define success and career is in the past traditionally is actually the your salary, how much you are getting paid. If you are getting paid a lot, you're wonderful. If not, right, it's also the title. While you have big title, so you are good. But what truly matters, truly a successful career, have how much love you have to your job, etc. lor. So I think that is a good measure rather than just a traditional measure like, oh, you earn more means you are more successful. But I really at this age of like I rather get paid less in monetary, but I actually enjoy my work more. But of course, I'm glad that I didn't really have to suffer pay cut at all. I actually had quite lucky to get good money all the while. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Anyway, just now I was logged off, right? Because I went to click on your IG. And then
Okay,
like
okay.
yeah. Okay, I want to see what you posted and all that. So for those of you who are also interested to like kind of follow Traven's Instagram, basically maybe I can just share my screen so that everyone can like
It
have a
is
look
very
at.
personal, but I love to be personal, to know people individually rather than talking at from a company standpoint or from a, yeah. So those are the things I love, nature, etc. And for the career by design is that I used to do a lot of workshop, but right now due to the sensitivity, I actually kind of like stopped doing that for like public workshop. Yeah. So what else? I read a lot. I like to read, so that's like my reading journal there for you to click into. So yeah, if you have more specific questions, you feel free to ask me personally, like on a private messages. But later on, I can provide a link whereby people can actually share commonly asked questions, and I can try to answer so that the rest of the others can actually learn from your question. I think that's how the learning can actually learning environment can actually create through this formula. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think Trevor is similar to me. We both read a lot of books, so and we always exchange ideas on what books to read. Sometimes you go to Kinokuniya and he take picture of
Yes,
like the
yes, yes.
book.
Yes, 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 yes,
Share
yes,
with
yes,
me.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. You
So
have used your Neo Kindle also, right? Yeah.
yeah, correct. You say you use paper, I use Kindle and stuff. So
Yeah.
going back to the topic of culture, right? So just to share my own personal experience and all that, I think just switching roles is sometimes very scary because you don't know like what's the what's the new company gonna be like and all that. And every recruiter, as Trevor knows, he will say probably saying very nice things, right? And great things about the organization. So we have to do our own diligence. So I'll just share with you some sources that I look at for me, Glassdoor, a lot of people are skeptical about Glassdoor, but for me, I believe in that there's no smoke without fire, right? So sometimes I take, Glassdoor reviews pretty seriously. Secondly is I will also take an extra step further to kind of research my boss, because I think that, the hiring manager, your direct manager is actually 50% of the experience that it's going to be.
80%.
Maybe more than 50, I think 70, right? Or 80, I don't know. Yeah. So I actually kind of like research, right? Ask people who have worked with him before and all that. But of course, you have to take the comments with a pinch of salt, because not everyone's going to be like 100% loved by, everybody, right? And stuff. And I also reach out to current employees to get some of the feedback and their thoughts on, like, working in the organization and all that. If they don't want to answer me, then I know that there's something wrong, correct? Because if it's good, they will definitely say, yeah. Besides researching on the cultural level, I think it's very important also to take note of the harder aspects, which is actually, the company itself. So especially when you join startups, right, they're going to promise you like, amazing stock options and everything, but you don't know how, you don't have access to the numbers, right, and all. So you can only look at a couple of things. So some of the things I look for is actually who are the investors, right, of the organization. So for me, I joined my current organization because they're invested in by 3 tech giants: ServiceNow, Workday, and Salesforce as well. And typically for Salesforce, when I look at the ventures that they invest in, they typically do really well. So that actually gave me some kind of like conviction to join my current organization. And I, of course, also look at the leadership team and their track record. Do you have the experience in growing organizations that are similar or not? Because if you don't have experience in growing these kind of organizations, then like, I don't know how credible you are, or like, and all that, because and all that. So looking at the leadership was a very critical factor for me also, and the track record in the industry and all that. So these are some of the factors that I look at. Traven, what do you look at?
In terms of the move, is it to a company, right? I think I will look at the big picture, which is the company. I mean, or rather the industry, which is always
Industry.
for me. And in terms of the next would then be the team that I'm in, because a company is so huge that you can't really choose or decide based on purely a company per se, because the sub team actually matters as well. So I think so from big industry to company, the prospect of the company, to then the teams, who will be my potential colleagues, and how is my chemistry with the future manager. And of course, my current one is actually endorsed by my current colleague, which is ex-colleague as well, also a friend. So that's why I actually like very sure I'll just take up the offer, regardless of even salary. Before I know the salary offered, right, I'll just like quite likely I'll take this. So that's how I actually define my priority. I never want to let the salary be the sole factor, because I think I plan my career as like the main source of income eventually should be really from, let's say, stocks or other investing, rather than a career. To me is just a place whereby you do what you're good at and be paid for what is you deserve for, and then it's also get paid to learn, a chance to learn, rather than just try to get the max money. Because sometimes I do feel pity when I offer candidates, right? Sometimes really, let's say there's really a maximum that we can offer, and that's the max, but the person just short of a few hundred or short of what, they just okay, no. But it's a bit pity if you are already making that much money, but yet for that few hundred or 1-2,000 kind of a short, you are not joining. So it's quite a pity. But I would see how I would choose, right? I would ask, like, would this opportunity as a whole, company, industry, everything, give me a chance to learn, be a better self, and despite knowing there could be challenges, but I think growth is more important at the age of where we are, which is the early 30 range, etc. But when you're in the 40s, of course, then would be quite different lah. So for now, I think I focus a lot more on the growth. And in regards to, say, compensation, because I think that's what you mentioned in the topic for today as well, right? I do want to share a bit here, because I think some tech companies actually offer different variety of like the breakdown of the packages, right? Some could be more on the base, some could be more on the stock options, some could be better at benefits. So those things are actually important only if your circumstances needed it. If not, right, it shouldn't be the main reason for like choosing because of that lah. So like, for example, I must say Google has the best office. No one can beat. All right. I think I've been to Salesforce, but I still think Google is the best, right? In this office. So we have, back then we have the gym, and there's like yoga classes. I actually went for hip hop dance classes, etc. So in terms of benefits, I think Google has the best office. But sometimes when I will also need to compare, right, or for my friends to consider, right, what do you really need? Do you need the best office, or do you need the best opportunity to grow, to shine, to actually contribute? And yeah, so that's how one can actually decide.
Yeah, I really resonate with what you're saying because like I always tell my friends like benefits, who cares? Like because I don't need
You
it
have
right now.
6 months,
I'm not
but you
family.
can't use it unless you go and make baby, right?
I also not pregnant or what I need a 6 months maternity leave now or anything like that. So yeah, that's what I was thinking of. But of course,
It's too good. It's too good.
although money is not very important to you right now, Trevor, but of course it
No, no,
definitely
it's
is
still important. I must say it's still important, just in case my future employer is working. So it's still important. Do give me good increment, okay? Do give me a good bonus. So just saying.
So of course not the number one thing, right? But to some people it might be because maybe of their background, maybe they're just starting out and stuff like that. So there's this comment we have from Diana. She's asking like, how do you actually uh, navigate, right, things like negotiation of pay, right? Because I think that's something very critical for many people. So maybe could you share your own perspectives as well, and I could also share mine. Yeah.
Sure. I think for the taking a break, right? I always please can I get the candidates to please at least mention in your CV that you actually take a break because of whatever reason, even if it's personal reason, for kids, for health reason, for for mental health reason, whatsoever. I would really highly recommend all candidates to include that in your CV if you had a break, because if imagine today we are at December, right? And if you have taken a break since say October or even September, and then your CV I received is actually you ended work at September. Okay, I mean, 3 months is actually still okay, but sometimes I've seen people like your last work is actually till June. So what have you been doing for the last 6 months? And especially if you do not even have a LinkedIn link on your CV, I can't even know. I need to call you, and sometimes like maybe not, like, yeah. So before we talk about even negotiation of pay, but I think the basic is that we should make it clear to the future HR recruiter bosses to know that why you'd actually take a break. It's good to just mention one liner, like the reason, to recharge yourself. It's all right, right? You have your own reason. Okay, so that's a part on the CV. But back to your question, should we reintegrate job to job search, negotiation or pay? Uh, I don't know if I understand your question correctly, but let's say integrate to job search is, like
I think what she's
basically,
asking, right, is basically like, let's say you take a break for 3 months, right? And then how are you going to so what she's asking is basically if you take a break for 3 months, how do you actually like have better negotiation power, I guess.
I
Yeah.
mean, to me,
Because you're not working.
that shouldn't be the key factor, because whether your pay is not dependent on how many months of break you had taken, right? So yeah, so in this negotiation of pay is really like how fit you are to the role, and you need to know your market. For example, I'm actually pretty good at say Mandarin skill, right? And in the Singapore market, maybe there isn't as much a good Mandarin speaker of a recruiter with tech background. So that's my niche, right? And with my, like, so for me, I'm okay to, I think I can take a break and still come back to work, and people, there should be still demand, and there should be still vacancies for me lah. Or for example, you have special skill, unique skill. You need to actually position your skill and achievement rather than how many months you have taken. To me, these two are not exactly having like a direct correlation. If I understand your question correctly, negotiation of pay, yes, I actually shared this quite deeply into like a separate session before as well. Negotiation of salary is really, you have to do well. I just share one very important concept. I know I've shared a lot, right? But I think this is like the end of the session, close to the end of the session. This big topic of negotiation of pay, I just want to summarize that you only negotiate the salary when you actually perform your best during the interview already. So there are plenty of cases, right? I've seen talents like, oh, before even they go into interview, before they actually apply, they ask me like, oh, what salary can I get? What's the range? How do we know, right? How do I know your actual performance, right? So most recruiters, regardless of the companies, I think we can only assess your performance, your performance throughout the interview. Then we can decide what level you might be assigned, and that's when we can get a sense of how much you could be potentially be paid. So yeah, so it's not about how much months you break, and you only negotiate when at least you have maybe at the mid of the interview, which is like after you, let's say the interview is 5 to 6 rounds, and maybe at the mid stage, like third, fourth round, then you can speak to the recruiter again to see roughly, where do I stand, etc., to get an understanding, get a sense of like where where you are, rather than trying to just ask for money at the very start. Yeah.
Wait, Trevor, on this, don't you have a budget that you are given by the hiring manager?
By
Let's
the
say you're
way,
hired.
depending on companies, and again, I'm just sharing on personal experience and personal perspective, not representing any companies.
Okay.
But I must say, there are companies who are really looking for best talent. Like
Okay.
budget, like money is not an issue. Like I want best
Okay.
talent. So can you like instead of budget, I would want to ask you back, can you prove yourself your worth, right? Sometimes I have this budget, like the position, it could be just manager or a senior manager. But if I come across a very senior guy who actually fits the bill, and the business can actually even decide, wow, there's such the talent around, and we don't want to miss them, right, or him or her, and why not we actually have this director position instead of like the manager we initially look for.
Right.
So then that itself actually break the budget already, right? So and let's say
The flexibility that is there.
especially okay, but of course that is a rare case because recently I've been doing quite a niche role, etc. So that is a unique case. But in general, maybe that's really budget. So I don't want to say for the market, but I'm just saying that the mindset is also important, not to fix your mind to like, oh, there should be only a budget, and also there are cases whereby there is really a budget and you shouldn't be like too 执着, with that the salary, etc. So sometimes if maybe there is just maximum of that budget, then you really need to maybe think, is it worthwhile to so-called take a step back in terms of salary, and then maybe can you get back from, let's say, sign on or potential bonuses, etc. So it's not a fixed answer, but there are cases whereby why not, right? Let's say for example, I reach out to Jerry, for example, I'm looking for let's say an analyst, which you are having 7 years experience. The analyst will be too junior for you, right? But who knows, I have this analyst position, and I just, because the reason I reached out to you, because you have right background. But if you say no to me, then you wouldn't have even a chance. But let's say if you agree to actually consider this opportunity and you go into the interview and you prove yourself that you are more than just an analyst, you could be even a senior analyst or even a manager. And maybe when you perform that well, I can actually use that as a recruiter. I can use that to convince my business to even consider having a higher level of a job rather than a higher just analyst, right?
Right, like open a new headcount or something to accommodate the
Yes,
talent and all.
correct. So things are not that fixed. We are not selling handphone, right? It's not a fixed design, So that's a bit when I do the job recruitment, right, I think it's a sales role indeed, because I need to kind of like sales the company. At the same time, I need to sell this candidate. Right? It's also my goal to help the candidate, not just the company, because I
Yes,
think
of
I
course.
want to get into help a candidate to get into a company that's quite bad, right? So I
Yeah.
want to meaning that candidate should feel happy and feel grateful because of my help. The person got a better job, and the company will be happy because I get a good candidate for the company, for the team, and I am happy because I get paid in terms of like doing my great job, and I get good performance bonus, for example, right? So it should be a win-win situation. Yeah.
Okay, so we've come to only left about 5 minutes or so, and we just have a couple of
Okay,
calls to
Stella,
action.
if you're let's do a test. Like if your audience, right? I don't know how many watching. I can't see the numbers, but who is keen to we can access. I don't mind. Jerry, are you having like let's extend 15 minutes more or 20 minutes more?
I don't know if it depends on whether there's any more questions, because I don't see any questions so far. But let me just quickly
Okay.
cover what is what we need to cover. So just want to share with everyone. There's a couple of CTAs call to actions here. So basically, if you're interested to enter the tech industry, and maybe Wokado might be one of the options you want to consider. We have a lot of different open roles right now. So if you're interested, please DM me on Instagram, and then we can actually maybe set up a call to talk about some of this. And if I feel that maybe perhaps you have a really good background and all that interest in the role and
Oh, so
anything.
many recruiter hiring so many recruiter.
Hey, Traven, 要不要？
No lah. I am committed to my current employer.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're interested in any of these roles, please let me know. Please ping me. And then on Instagram. So if those of you who don't know my Instagram, it's basically my name. Yeah, no creative username or anything like that. Just ping me, and then we can probably have a chat about this and see if I can refer you or anything. Because always happy to have like good talented people to join our organization. So this is my IG for those who are interested. Let me just switch the tab for you guys to have a
Jerry
look.
have a lot of sharing, a lot. Sometimes I just cannot catch all her sharing, but when I catch it, it's good content. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm very wordy. I post a lot of words. Yeah. Okay. And Traven, you also have some resources, right, for anyone who wants to kind of like
Yes, I used to have like my own courses, but now I no longer do that. But I still want to keep the things going, because by doing like such coaching, sharing session, and answering questions, I think that helps me to actually be sharper in terms of thinking, in terms of giving out solutions, etc. Right? So and this is one of my favorite app, almost my top app in 2021. Just to share, if you do not have a Notion account, I don't get paid if you sign up.
no
But
sure,
anyway,
I also use.
anyway, you should use this. Anyway, you can search for this link in your browser, bit.ly / capital C, capital B, capital D, like basically capital the word career by design Notion, and you'll come to this page. So this is something new I'm trying out, because for the past few years I've been getting questions from WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and Instagram, Facebook pages, etc. They're just not a central place for me to collect all the questions, and I think some questions are just so wonderful that I it's a waste if I don't keep track of it. So if you happen to have a very specific question, feel free to just key in. For example, like Jeraldine, actually you just insert your name, right? Just key in
correct.
any questions you have. I try to answer, and if you happen to you want to comment on your answer, I think you can also click one of the thing you can answer you can help to answer as well. And yeah, but if your question is very specific, let's say you are getting offer between this company versus that company, and this company pays you 10K, that company pays you 9K or what, I don't know, like you want to make a comparison, right? You can try to be as specific as possible, and if you find sensitive, you don't want to put your name, it's also fine. Then at least I think that the question are very real, very practical, and then my response can be very helpful to anyone who is also reading this. So that's more of a Q&A. It's just a proper way of like tracking it. I'm just trying this out. My first time using this form. I have been using this Notion for my personal, such as like reading tracker. I have a full list of like, I think I read, I don't know, over 50 books this year. Should be at least
Oh
one
my
book a week.
goodness.
So, but for the focus on this today's session, which is more on the career productivity related, so I think that's more. I didn't really organize it that well yet, so it's always work in progress. But I think that there's a few one I would recommend, highly recommend, especially the deep, right? I read this book before I make a change. That deep is something so wonderful in terms of like, if you click into the deep, you open that. I
Okay,
don't know
yeah.
if certain book I actually have some comments. I don't know, not all. Some maybe I think this one I did. So you can actually read this book in one sentence. If you can decide later if you want to read or not. But there's a few learnings. Sometimes I say top 3 learnings, but there's just so
I
much
got
more.
four. Got four.
Yeah, certain books I have like 10. I don't know what's top 3 because there's like 10. I just cannot remove any of those. Yeah, certain thing. If there's any quote, I'll just write. If there's any other notes, yeah, I'm trying to keep this format. Yeah, you can read the books I've read, and that should give you like inspiration whether you should want to read that book or not. There's also another link which is like my full personal page for fun things I used to do, like magic, etc. for fun. I think at the age of like right now, I rather to be connected more personally, like like on the interest level, rather than I used to do more of a mass sharing and just connect with everyone. So I rather like you connect with me because we are resonated on certain topics like productivity, career related. So I think that would be helpful, and also tech industry. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, that's really wonderful. Thanks so much, Traven, for your generous sharing. I guess we just have one last question. I think you might be best equipped to answer this about whether Singapore is reopening hiring of foreigners. Do you want to
This
wait?
is www.mom.gov.sg. Please refer to by the Ministry of Manpower. I don't think I have the, because this really depends. I think as a general rule, is that the guideline should be still around 30% of the workforce should be maximum at 30% in terms of the employment pass holder.
Mhm.
But indeed, in short, it's actually more challenging to have foreign talents in Singapore. So for myself, I'm a PR, so that makes things easier. I'm a Malaysian, so BAPR also helps. So yeah, it's great to be a citizen one day. Yeah.
Congratulations on your PR, Traven.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, Singapore still hire foreign talents. So sometimes you just need to make sure that you have the skills to stand out, and you have do more work in terms of trying out different things, checking with different recruiters, and yeah, it would be more challenging, but don't give up and keep trying. Yeah.
All right, great. So since there's no more question, I guess we will conclude the session today. So thank you very much, everyone. Once again, really look forward to connecting to all of you on Instagram, LinkedIn or whatever. Just add us, and then we're happy to address further questions if you want to like DM us privately. So really appreciate your time, everyone. Thank you so
And
much.
Happy
Bye
New Year.
bye.
I forget to say that. Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank
See
you.
you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.